Hey, when breaking news happens around the Aqua and Orange, you know we've got you covered. That's why you subscribe to Dolphins Today. And you know what? I'm still a little bit heartbroken over last night, but no time to cry over spilled milk. We've got a lot of injury news to get to. That's what we're covering on this edition of Dolphins Today. And welcome into this edition of Dolphins Today. As if the news couldn't get any worse, I'm your host, Jake Riepma. And if you stomached that fourth quarter of the Dolphins' abysmal performance against the Tennessee Titans, in which they gagged that victory away, gave up 15 unanswered points down the stretch, now we've got more news to get to. In the aftermath, folks, bear with me. It is not pretty. Omar Kelly of SI putting this out earlier today. Dolphins likely to finish the season without Connor Williams. That's because, of course, he suffered the knee injury in the game against the Titans, really at the beginning of the game in the first quarter, and did not return. And unfortunately, you are left to fear the worst, especially when you consider how much of an impact Connor Williams has had for this Dolphins team. It's been a Dolphins offensive line that has been a rotating cast of players. It's basically been like musical chairs, but Connor Williams at the center position has been the model of consistency when he's been able to play. 497 snacks, just the one sack allowed in 497 snaps, not sacks. 497 snaps and just the one sack allowed. Really impressive there. 7 penalties. That Pro Football Focus grade should jump off the page for you. 86.5. And if you're thinking, wow, that's pretty good, Connor Williams, it is very good. In fact, it is the highest graded center in all the National Football League, according to Pro Football Focus. So losing Connor Williams would be monumental for this Dolphins team. We saw, unfortunately, the significant drop-off when Liam Eichenberg came in to replace Connor Williams at the center. And that sounds like we're picking on Eichenberg a little bit, but it was a night to forget for Liam Eichenberg against the Titans. And as you see on the depth chart there, this Dolphins offensive line just beat up in every sense of the word. Played without Teron Armstead last night. Isaiah Wynn still hurt, dealing with the injuries. Robert Hunt dealing with the hamstring injury. And everybody else, it seems like, is banged up in some capacity. So Connor Williams, perhaps out for the remainder of the season. We'll have more info on that as it continues to break. But regardless, this Dolphins offensive line is beat up. You could say they're in shambles. And I want to know, how concerned are you with the offensive line and the aftermath of all the injuries? Because I'm not going to sugarcoat it, folks. What we witnessed last night with this offense, combined with the injuries that this team's facing, there's a lot to be concerned with. And specifically the offensive line, I'm very, very, very concerned. And it feels like when it rains, it pours when it comes to the injuries with this Dolphins team, and they just simply won't stop. I feel like no more. Enough is enough. We're waving the white flag. No more injuries. But unfortunately, such is life in the National Football League. Coming up, we've got more injury notes to get to because we've only just cracked the surface with the injuries that took place on Monday Night Football. So we'll tell you all about them. But first, I want to tell you all about America's #1 meal supply and my favorite, especially this time of year, folks. That is Factor. Because listen up, we're in the midst of the bustling holiday season. If you're like me, you're probably looking for nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you on jam-packed days. Well, that's, my friends, where Factor comes in. It's America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. They can help you eat well for breakfast, for lunch, and, of course, for dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered, let me say that again, delivered straight to your door. So you'll save time and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle, all while tackling your holiday to-do. So if you've got a long holiday list, here's one thing you can cross off: meal prepping. You can also cross off the dishes, because with Factor, it is all about the convenience. You can treat yourself to high-quality, delicious meals over the holidays and choose from 35-plus chef-crafted meals every week that support a healthy lifestyle and meet your meal preferences. Whether it's Calorie Smart, vegan, veggie, protein plus, you name it, Factor's got you covered. So head to factormeals.com/FinzChat50 and use code FinzChat50 to get 50% off. That's code FinzChat50 at factormeals.com/FinzChat50 to get 50% off. And what do I always tell you? We love you and we care about you. That's why we're putting the link right in the description of today's video. So it's one click away from saving 50% off at factormeals.com/FinzChat50. Now, another injury scare that the Dolphins and all of their fans dealt with yesterday on Monday Night Football was the Tyreek Hill ankle injury. It looked bad, and Michael Bunting in the moment looked like one of those tackles that he was utilizing the weight against Tyreek Hill, and he fell on the ankle, and Tyreek was shaken up and unfortunately had to leave the game. However, he did return, and you might be asking yourself, how did he find maybe the motivation, the pain tolerance, this, that, and the other? How did Tyreek Hill get back into the game? Well, when he was asked about it post-game, you got to love what he had to say. He said he was in a lot of pain. It sucked. I've been dealing with ankle injuries this whole season. I texted my wife. That's right, at halftime. I texted my wife. It hurt. She said, you better get your ass back in the game. How about that from Tyreek Hill's wife, who we've seen on Hard Knocks time and time again? And there's no secret to what Tyreek Hill means to this offense. In the game against Tennessee, obviously very limited with just the 61 yards on 4 receptions over 5 targets. But over the course of the season, Tyreek has just been exceptional. And last night, of course, was a step back on his pace to get to 2,000 yards, but still leads the NFL in most statistical categories from the wide receiver standpoint. And at Pro Football Focus, well, they tell you he's the best wide receiver because they know a thing or two about football. Look at that 94.2 grade from Pro Football Focus. Leads everybody. Brandon Ayuk right behind him, along with A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, and Travis Kelce for your 2023 PFF receiving grades. But the point being, Tyreek Hill is monumental and so crucial to the success of this offense. We saw this offense be absolutely worthless without Tyreek Hill on Monday night. They could not move the football. And in a lot of ways, Tyreek made a case for MVP because when he's not in, the Dolphins offense is nothing. So you tell me, what's your confidence level in the Dolphins offense without Tyreek Hill? Scale it for me, 1 to 10. Now, my confidence level, based on what we saw last night, I don't think you'd be crazy to say your confidence level is a 1 or maybe a 2, because without Tyreek Hill in this offense, they looked extremely pedestrian. Tua wasn't able to spread the ball around. There was no deep threat. And the running game was still there. I wish Mike McDaniel would have gone to the running game a little bit more, especially inside the 10 and in the red zone. But the point being, the Cheetah is a crucial component, the most important component to this Dolphins offense, and it is absolutely vital to the success of the Miami Dolphins for him to be in the lineup. Now, couple more injuries to get to. I told you the list was long, unfortunately, but Deshon Elliott also left the game multiple occasions against the Tennessee Titans and was evaluated for a concussion, also with a rib injury. And the second time he left the game, he did not return, so he was not in there in crunch time as the Titans meticulously moved the football down the field twice, not once, but twice, and this defense looked like Swiss cheese. So bummer that Deshon Elliott was not able to be in the game in crucial moments, but he is going to be continued to be evaluated. And as we get more information on his status, we'll keep you informed. But it's believed to be a ribs injury that he is dealing with. So those are the major ones. And if you watch the game from start to finish, you also saw Jaylen Waddle go down in the opening series. Xavien Howard also went down with the friendly fire from Brandon Jones, an incidental play that he was Xavien Howard, that is, had the helmet up against the ribs. And we did see X back in the game, which was good news, and same with Jaylen Waddle. So they both left the game with injury scares, but returned to the game. And this point in the National Football League season, man, everybody's banged up, everybody's bruised, everybody's dealing with injuries. But you'd be hard-pressed to find a team that's dealing with more injuries than the Miami Dolphins. But we'll continue to keep you covered on the latest with Connor Williams, with Tyreek Hill, with Deshon Elliott, with Xavien Howard and Jaylen Waddle. Hopefully those last two, there's nothing more to update because they're just a little bit banged up and ready to play for the Dolphins' next game, a bounce-back game that is much needed against the New York Jets. And as we get you ready for each and every part of that game, you got to make sure you subscribe to the channel because when Dolphins news breaks, we've got you covered. We also got you covered with daily Dolphins content, live videos, as well as our live watch parties. All reasons to subscribe to the channel at Dolphins Today. As always, shout out producer Coop on the ones and twos. Always a pleasure to work with the one and only Coop. And we'll see you next time on Dolphins Today.